Today, we've got Ryan Leong, and Ryan actually maybe perhaps could consider you a friend of the program since you have been on. It's been a few years, but we're glad to have you back. Thanks for joining me on Voice of the Box.
Better being your friend than your enemy, right?
Always. Well, I don't know about me. I'm not that vicious. Ryan, instead of me explaining your role, just in summary, who you're working for and what you do when you cover here the NFL and specific the 49ers.
When I come to NFL games, my number one client is Sirius NFL Radio. So I'm obviously doing in-game updates at least 3 times an hour plus scoring plays. And I'm also doing getting post-game interviews for sound for Metro Networks. I also get a phone guest for NFL Radio. Usually, of course, the best player of the game. A lot of times it could be Alex Smith or Frank Gore, depending on who the big player of the game was.
And now you've got a pretty good body of experience to work from. Just give a quick summary of all the outlets that you've worked for in the 5-6 years or so. I know there's probably many, but kind of a who's who list, right?
ESPN Radio, AP Radio, Sirius, as I mentioned, WFAN, Metro, which is a client I still work with, some stuff for CBS, so those are the few of them.
And you broke into this industry as, I'm not sure if your role is considered in it,
stringer.
What's it called?
Stringer. Freelancer, independent contractor.
Independent contractor.
A stringer is still the mostly used, commonly used term. So yeah, you basically get paid by assignment to be a correspondent for the various networks and provide coverage of the games themselves. And that's what I've been doing. And yeah, I still love it, or I still wouldn't be here.
And I know you do a lot of other sports, but today we'll kind of at least keep the focus on football. How long have you been covering football as an independent correspondent?
Started in 1998, so 11 years. So
11 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, you got this start into this career track. How?
Well, actually, a mutual friend that your cameraman knows here got me started. He was actually covering Niner games and Raider games, Niners back in the mid-'80s. So through him, I was able to get started and come to the games. And, early on, like a lot of people, just sort of watching and then observing, and then later on getting thrown into the mix. And
here we are 11 years later. Were there any pearls of wisdom or guidance that perhaps was given to you by a mentor or something along those lines that maybe stuck with you that you still utilize, you still reference, and would you pass that same information on or guidance to someone else that's trying to maybe break into this industry?
Well, absolutely. You work with him every week. Ken Gimlin is definitely my mentor. He's your press box spotter. Ken's been in the business, he's been in the business well over 45 years, I believe now. So being professional, I think, is one of the things he's always stressed. And certainly it can be really gimmicky these days. I mean, there's no shortage of stand-up comedians on ESPN, which is unfortunate. But I certainly believe in doing strict, solid journalism, which is really disappearing in our business. Which probably in a way is a good thing, because then it makes those that still are very serious about being good, solid journalists a platform to which to go about your business and be thorough in your reporting and try to stick to the facts and not be too cute. Because I think a lot of times the bottom line is the story is what's going on, not making yourself the story.
Absolutely. Now, with your industry going through so many changes almost constantly, and the way that information is, disseminated at the speed that it's put out there, I don't want to dwell on the negative, but just give me a couple, or maybe if there are 1 or 2 top challenges about what you do, and then we'll of course flip that to the positive on what the perks are.
Well, the biggest challenges certainly are when you have to go interview coaches and players after a loss. I mean, some are better than others. The NFL is pretty good now, though. Overall, I think the NFL, being the sport that it is and the kind of marketing and outreach that it has around the world, and certainly in the United States, coaches and players aren't stupid. They know that they've got a job to perform, and they want to at least be accessible to the media, so it portrays well with the fans. And so that can be the hardest part. Other than that, maybe sometimes jockeying for position. There might be some other journalists, although unfortunately, again, with the economic times that we're in, you don't see nearly as many media as you used to. So it's not quite the mess of humanity that you might think in the locker room.
Right.
So
those are some of the challenges. What about 11 years you've been doing this? What keeps you coming back?
I think it's the unknown. It's what you might see in a game and you've never seen it before. I mean, this season watching Frank Gore rush for over 200 yards against Seattle was certainly memorable. But I always say that in my first year, I'll never forget, the very first game I covered for the 49ers was Garrison Hurst running back the kickoff, or I think a 99-yard touchdown in an overtime game against the Jets. And then I saw Terrell Owens catch the pass from Steve Young standing on the 10-yard line.
So it's those moments that keeps you going.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something you just can't put your finger on, and the fact that you were there to witness it, and I'll source Kenny. Kenny was here covering the 49ers for years, and he remembers being here to watch the NFC Championship against the Dallas Cowboys and Joe Montana throwing that pass to Dwight Clark. So,
well, I echo that. That's the same reason I'm here too. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Tell me, just we're kind of winding down. Just the last couple of questions I want to kind of touch on are maybe a growth track or career track from where you are now, in terms of your independent contractor. Where maybe would you like to go personally? Where would you like to take this? Or are you just, maybe your role is, you right where you want to be? I put any assumptions in here.
Oh, no. I kind of like where I am right now. I'm still doing the work as we've talking about, but I'm working at Metro Networks now. So I work as a reporter doing a various amount of stations. I do sports updates on KCBS and traffic, and then sometimes I also do KNBR and KGO under assumed names.
Right.
But that's part of the fun of it. And in this day and age, the one advice I would give to anybody who's interested in being involved in the business: be versatile. Don't just get yourself stuck in saying, I want to be a TV sports person and I want to be the next Stuart Scott. No, you should learn how to write, learn how to report, get the basic foundations for journalism, and it works for anything. I mean, if you can cover sports, you learn how to cover sports like you'd cover news, business. If you're doing even a traffic report, it's the same thing. I mean, you have certain foundations with which you have to be, you have to have in order to be a good reporter.
That's how good he is. He just took the last question right out of my mouth, so that was excellent. Ryan, just as we wrap up here, where people can tune into you, listen to your voice, hear what your work is like here in the Bay Area. I know that my viewers, may not be able to listen to it if they're out on the East Coast, but do you have a quick summary of where people can catch you?
Oh no, thanks to the internet, you can hear me anywhere.
Okay. Tell people where we can catch you.
If I'm doing KCBS sports or traffic on a Saturday night, KCBS.com.
Okay.
KNBR, a lot of times KNBR.com might be streaming some stuff on either 680 or 1050. KGO Radio is a very well-known radio station in San Francisco. So those are just some of the places. Obviously, as I mentioned, Sirius. If anybody has a Sirius radio,
they can catch you. And again, what name? don't want to joke around, but really, what name will they hear? Are you using?
I use different names, but obviously my real name is the one I most prefer using, which is Ryan Leong. So I definitely go by that for Sirius and for KCBS. And again, it's been a great thrill, and I definitely encourage people, even though times are tough, it's a very rewarding business. And again, you know this very well, Matt. We do it because we love it, and it's a lot of fun, and it makes for great memories.
Ryan Leong, thanks for taking some time right here on Voice of the Box.
Thanks, Matt.